Welcome into another post-game pod of Banditland Boulevard. I'm one of your co-hosts, Trevor Howard. That's Tony LaMonica, aka Boxhead98TL. We knew this was long overdue. A game like this. We waited till the playoffs. We had that conversation earlier in the season after losing games 18-7 to Toronto, winning
hmm
games through the skin of our own teeth, winning games 10-9, winning games 11-10 in overtime. We said what? This offense needs to step it up going into the playoffs, and they absolutely did. How about a beatdown on the little brother that is the Rochester Fraud Hawks, taking those boys down and beating them? Not they didn't just rout them. They beat them by 12 goals. Count them up. 20-8 was the final score from the Keybank Center on Saturday night. A complete offense scoring on 33% of their shots were goals, 60 shots total, just a complete offensive routing. And we said on last week's post-game slash preview that take shots from all angles, they're bound to go in. They did. 20-8. What a game.
Yeah, you can't stop with this offense how much they have a powerhouse thing. And then the thing is that it finally clicked. This was the offense we've been waiting for all season long. But again, with the injury bug and we had secondary, with our depth coming up and just to help contribute those wins, this was big. Obviously, having four people at least with a hat trick that night. We also had just secondary scoring from everybody, almost everybody. Ian McKay, Brad McCauley, Steve Priolo,
Kyle
Jesus,
Buchanan, dude, Kyle Buchanan
Bucky got
threading the needle on that one shot in between the two defensemen going top shelf. I mean,
Yep.
that is what you need to use Kyle Buchanan for. Johnny T
Mhm.
used him. He got himself a hat trick, and all three of his goals were amazing.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it. The unsung hero is doing it what he does best. And then he's a workhorse. But again, our top two guys, Dane Smith and Josh Byrne, proven once again they are the dynamic duo of lacrosse, especially in Buffalo Bandits history. Dane Smith with ending up with 10 points, Josh with 9. Again, that's a combo that is dangerous to face. And now that we have succeeded in kind of like saying, okay, there goes Rochester. We're done. We're
Goodbye,
done.
little bro. Goodbye, little
Now
bro.
it's come down to where you got to bring this same atmosphere against Toronto next series. This is the Eastern Conference final now.
Yep,
This is the big time. So this is what the offense has got to do every single game against their opponents from here on in.
absolutely. And we really just held them down, shut them down. Matt Vince playing out of his mind once again. This guy
Mm-hmm.
has, I mean, we all knew that Matt Vince was electric. And it's been after that Toronto home game where this guy has absolutely gone like he's been sipping out of the fountain of youth or something because this guy has been making insane saves since that Toronto game. Even going back to that Riptide game earlier in the season where he gave up only 10 goals to those guys when they were putting up a fight against us. But this guy's been playing out of his freaking mind. And we know that he is one of the best goalies to ever lace up a pair of pads in the National Lacrosse League. But this guy holding another team, this time his former team, the team that really got the best of him when we played at the War Memorial back in
Mm-hmm.
January, holding them to under 10 goals, and then watching this offense absolutely explode. 3 goals in the first, and then we had 5 goals in the second, 6 in the third, 6 in the fourth. We tallied 12 goals in that second half, followed by amazing defense and just outstanding goaltending. I mean, this is one of the most complete wins you'll ever see. If you've ever been to a Bandits game in Banditland, this is probably one of the most complete wins on all sides of the ball. Faceoffs were good, penalties were
Mm-hmm.
good, offense were good, defense was good, goaltending was elite. Secondary scoring was amazing. The coaching decisions were great. The power play, the way that we would attack them on the power play, like when we interviewed Delby Paulus and he said backyard lacrosse, that was the most Darius Kilgore based power play I've ever seen, and it really worked out in our favor, scoring, going 2 for 4 on that power play.
Mm-hmm.
And Josh Byrne will tell you right now that he could have cashed in on one of those other power play opportunities where he rang it off the post, I believe it was. We should
Yep.
have gone 3 for 4 on the power play, but it's hard to be picky
Mm-hmm.
when you win a game 20-8. But one of the most complete games of the season is, or maybe of all time, as long as I've been alive for.
Yeah, you got to understand this is basically all a team effort. When Dane Smith, after he had his post-game interviews straight after the game, he said everybody needs to contribute. It doesn't mean about him, doesn't mean about Josh Byrne or the top guys on the team. He's mentioning it for everyone. Like I said before, this is a family, and this is what they do best, is that they stick together and that they work together as one, not as individuals. And what they have done, obviously after this past Saturday night, had everybody contributed. They did their part. Everyone played their role. Goaltending was A+, defense was A+, scoring was A+. I mean, what more can you possibly ask for from a perfect sight game to watch, especially going up against one of your rivals across the 90 back over to Rochester, over in there's their area code. What's the area
The
code?
585.
Who cares?
585, The Rock, man. Yep.
Oh, and by the way, Mr. Rylan Hartley, you want to flip off us because of
Yeah.
how bad you
Yep.
you stunk for that team, and you've been lights out from the season before, you know, and from this first half season, but then all of a sudden the vibe just started to go away. You guys lost that edge. You guys did not want to score more goals. And then you had the audacity and the unprofessionalism to flip us off after your performance. Next time you flip somebody off, look in a mirror and do it to yourself, because that's sad for you to even do that to us.
Yeah, I don't know if you think you're Stone Cold Steve Austin or anything, but when you give up like the amount of goals that you gave up 15 goals, buddy. And then your backup, who was like worse than you somehow, gave up another 5 goals in a span of 9 minutes and 19 seconds. He was garbage too. You have the audacity to turn around and flip off the crowd. That is when you tuck your tail between your legs, put your head down, go in the locker room, and know that your big brother just whooped your ass once again in the Buffalo Bandits. You want to turn around and give us the finger? Scoreboard? Do I really have to just like? I mean, one word: scoreboard. I don't care if you're gonna. I'll give you any finger I want to give you. Does it affect the score whatsoever? Absolutely not. So Hartley, you're a stuck-up loser. Your team is out of the playoffs. Rochester Sports Center. Big shout out to you on Instagram, buddy, talking about all that trash talk, talking about how Buffalo is Rochester's little brother. What happened to your team, buddy? What happened to your team? I mean, it wasn't even close. A dozen goals you lost by, and you're still going to turn around and talk your mess. At least your Amerks won. There's your positive for the War Memorial. They won. I think they almost blew a 4-1 lead against the Syracuse Crunch, but they still held on to win that game, and they advanced to the conference finals. But your Rochester Knighthawks, what happened? What happened to the boys in the Army green and black? What happened to them? What happened to you, Connor Fields? What happened to you? What happened to Thomas Hogarth? By the way, I was saying this off air, Tony, and I definitely remember you hearing me say this, but what was my thing going into last week's preview? Shut down the former Bandits, shut down your Connor Fields, shut down Thomas Hogarth. How many goals did Thomas Hogarth score on Saturday, Tony? Just one. One. I would say that's shutting him down.
One. That's it.
4 assists for Connor Fields. Big freaking whoop on 8 total goals. Awesome. Great. But the Buffalo Bandits, this should squash any argument whatsoever. And you can put this out on whatever platform you want. You can screen record this, screenshot this, tweet me on this. I think the rivalry is dying. I think the Bandits, this is a one-sided rivalry. And when you only have one team winning out of this rivalry, is it really considered a rivalry anymore?
I wouldn't consider it at all.
You go back and look at Peyton Manning and Tom Brady. Tom Brady would beat Peyton Manning, 9 times out of 10? Was that really a rivalry? And then you have like Yankees, Red Sox. Constant back and forth action. That is a rivalry. We used to be rivals with the Rochester Knighthawks, but all we do is whoop these guys. They might get that occasional come from behind victory like they did in January, maybe a couple times a year, but we really dominate when it matters against those guys. I think our only rivals right now in the league right now out east are Toronto. That's it. I don't even consider this a rivalry anymore because of the smacketh down that the Bandits gave them this Saturday when it truly mattered. When the lights were the brightest, Rochester covered their faces because it was too bright for them. And Buffalo was like, took their opportunity. They said, hey, I like the brightness of these lights. Give me some more, and we'll drop 20 on those guys. So Hartley, you can flip off the crowd, but just know, like, we don't care. We don't care. We were just pointing up at the scoreboard. I mean, Go away. Just go away. You suck. You're garbage. Go away.
Yeah, basically, that's just what can you say about Rochester? It's starting to fall and starting to falter. It's starting to fade away into the darkness.
They
As
don't
we're
get
heading
any
into the light.
attendance. They don't have the
Nothing.
attendance like they used to. I mean,
And that's sad.
I don't look at Rochester legitimately anymore since their expansion. I mean, this team had 3 straight titles from what 2011 to 2013 or 14, or maybe it was
Well, because they have the
2011 to
best goaltender in the league, and that's Matt Vince.
they did, but they also had a solid crowd. How do you go from a dynasty in the early 2010s to losing your franchise to Halifax, and then you completely abandon your classic teal and purple color scheme? Nobody looks at the army green Knighthawks legitimately, and if you do, you seriously need to look in a mirror and question everything that you're thinking right now. I don't look at this team as a legitimate team. I look at them as a farm team. If the NLL had a farm team, that would be the Rochester Knighthawks, because not only does Terry Pagula own the Knighthawks, so do the Buffalo Bandits.
Yeah, pretty much. They are the ones that we say, well, we'll call you guys up whenever we need you in case somebody gets hurt. But
you will be our future AAA or AHL affiliate of the Buffalo Bandits. Just give it time.
Hey, the Rochester practice squad. That's basically what they look like.
The Rochester Junior Bandits. The Rochester Junior Bandits.
Yes. That is basically how you want to do it. But again, it is sad to see that you go from being a top tier team and now it's starting to fade. But there's still talent on the team. We're not saying there isn't. But the fact is that the fan base has now lost faith in their team. And that's what sucks, because then when things go wrong like that and there's less and less people in the crowds, eventually you're going to say to yourself, well, is it worth keeping this team in the city of Rochester? Look what Panther City did. I mean, God bless them for their first year in their run, even though they came up short against Calgary. But
they did.
They still need to draw more fans in the stands. They were a first-year playoff team. But again, it's kind of sucked. I kind of wanted to see, no offense to Calgary, but I wanted to see Fort Worth actually move on against Colorado, but that's not the case.
I wanted to see TK go to the Final Four. I mean, that's it.
I
loved Tracy Kelusky growing up. Not so much in 2004 when he won the NLL Finals MVP against us in the 2004 championship game. But when he came up in 2010, I mean, that guy was an absolute beast. I think he played a few years up in Buffalo, but he was one of my favorite players when he came here. So it would have been nice to see him go to the Final Four. But Tony, I just can't get enough looking at the scoring report. Look at the secondary scoring. Kicking things off with Ian McKay from Josh Byrne. 14:37 into the first. 23 seconds into the first, and then Kyle Buchanan from Fraser and Kluch, and then Josh Byrne on the power play. Kyle Buchanan and Ian McKay, those were the guys that really stepped up when the vets went down, when we really had to face adversity. And you see their production, even when the vets are up. The fact that they're still scoring these secondary goals is absolutely amazing. And then Katoni ripping 3 in a row, because Holden Katoni is one of the only bright spots on that team. Tying the game up at 3, Chris Kluche from Josh Byrne and Dane Smith on the power play, followed by Connor Fields on the power play on what I honestly thought was kind of a BS call. You got that cross-checking call when they were letting everything go in that first quarter on Justin Martin, but you're going to call that crap. That was garbage. But the Bandits did overcome that. I feel like everybody cross-checks in the NLL, and they only call it on the Bandits. But Dane Smith ripping 2 in a row, followed by Tehoka. Great to have him back in the lineup as well.
Absolutely.
Leading 8-4 at halftime with a comfortable lead. Ryan Smith coming in. Scoring to go down 8-5, followed by Hogarth on the power play. And then Dane Smith from Kluche and McKay. McKay scoring again. Steve Priolo, the captain, ripping one on a B-way.
2 straight breakaways, by the way.
On a B-way, yep. So the Ian McKay one was unassisted on a breakaway, followed by Steve Priolo unassisted on a breakaway at 5:21. Kyle Buchanan from Dane Smith. Josh Byrne from Kluche and Smith. That connection was there the whole night. Josh Byrne from Ian McKay, leading 14-7. Now, Tony, I wasn't there, but the vibes in the building had to be immaculate, leading 14-7 going into the fourth quarter.
Well, you got to also realize, too, it's a game of runs, like you even mentioned before. But I don't think they wanted to even put take their foot off the gas. They just says, you know what, make a statement right now, bury them where they belong, and just keep trucking. And they didn't want to stop. They had after the third quarter, when it was 14-7, like you said, they had a 6-goal run to really bury them. And then as soon as that happened, I think I'm not really too sure what minute they allowed Shanahan to go in. Smart move by Johnny T, because God forbid if Rochester would have said, you know what, we're losing. We're not going to make it easier for Buffalo to go on to the next round, so we want to run Vince. No, they were smart. They took him out. They put Shanahan in, and he was even solid. He only gave up 1 goal on how many shots possible?
So if you look at the stats, it was...
He only had 6 shots on, or I'm sorry, scratch that. 7 shots on net. He made 6 out of 7 for the saves.
Near perfect. 6 out of 7. Very, very good for him. That would be like, what, 83% of his shots that he faced were saves. So that's pretty good.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
And I mean, that 6-goal run. I mean, from Frazier, McCulley, Nanakoke, Buchanan, Kluge, Byrne. And then Tony scoring a garbage time goal with less than a minute to go. I guarantee you they were chanting na, hey, hey, with like 6 minutes to go. I mean, this game was over. Rochester absolutely dug their own grave and died. They tucked their heads down and died. They did not show any effort in that fourth quarter. I'm like, 7 goals, that's a lot to overcome. But like we said before, I mean, it's a game of runs. If you string maybe 3 or 4, you go on a 3 or 4 goal run, it's kind of a new game. But, dude, these guys just rolled in the fetal position, let the Bandits kick them around.
Yeah, you know what the best part about it is? As soon as that actually was happening in that second half routing, because like you said, we had 12 goals combined, 6 per quarter.
Yep.
We were ripping on Hartley, and then we were ripping on Hutchcraft. All the fans, and I got to say this.
Taunting.
Yeah, I got to say this to everybody that when we started that chant with the goalie chant from section 118 all the way to 122, and then when people started to hear it,
the 300s were getting in on it too,
and I was loving it. So if you're listening in or you're watching this right now, I'm telling you this: if you go to Friday's game against Toronto at the KeyBank Center, we are going to rip on their goaltender, Nick Rose. You will never believe. And I want everyone's help to get him rattled. So we're going to really rip on him big time.
Rosie.
Yeah, I can't wait.
You suck. I
can't wait.
I can't even wait.
Cannot wait.
But, dude, the crowd was in it the whole time. The back-to-back B-ways absolutely sealed the victory, in my honest opinion. I was at my end of the semester party for my college campus where everybody was kind of partying on the streets. I found
Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you so much. I found 5 people live streaming the game on their phone. And I was looking over someone's shoulder that was watching the game. And as soon as I see the 2 breakaway goals going, I'm like, I don't need to watch anymore. This game is over. The Bandits have just blown out their little brothers, and we're going to go celebrate this W. That was when I knew the game was over.
Right. And I can't believe how the fact that with everybody still too at the game, they never left. They stayed around to, watch them do their victory lap and everything else. And also when they went out after to the cobblestone, the only players that I got to actually talk to was Tahoka and Chase after the game. So they're ready. They're psyched.
2 beauties. 2 beauties, though.
That's a scratch. Scratch that. I actually talked to 3 or 4. I got Brad. Brad and I talked for a while. And he's
friend of the show, Brad McCulley.
What do you feel about, I even asked him the question. He goes, I asked him, I go, what do you feel about Toronto? He goes, Toronto.
Let's go.
He's like, he's so psyched. He can't wait. He just said it right there and then. I'm like, okay, he's ready.
I love that. I love
the enthusiasm out of this guy. He's like great news, and he would love to come back onto the show too. He wanted to mention that to you too as well.
That's amazing. And I remember when I posted on my Instagram story of him and his fight against Josh Sullivan on St. Patrick's Day. He slid up on the story and said, "I got a man's ass to whip." I'm like, let's go.
Let's go.
He's such a beauty. But yeah, just a huge win, 20-8 from the Keybank Center. Just one of the most complete victories you'll ever see. And then if you watch JT's press conference, I mean, this dude, he's like, yeah, whatever. He beat Rochester. Who cares? On to the next one. I'm like, dude, I love that.
Yep.
I love that. He's always
calm, cool, and collective.
Next game mentality. And this was kind of like the one where I really felt nervous. Like, if you lose this game, there's no insurance. Like, you lose, you go home.
That's right.
And it's essentially the wild card in baseball. And it's essentially the game 7 in hockey, right? Like if you win, you advance. If you lose, you go home. The Bandits stepped up big time.
We're not the San Diego Seals. We don't lose one and done.
No,
when
sorry.
The best,
sorry.
When we're matching with the best record, 14-4, and you guys lose.
Yep. No, we don't give up
That's
game
sad.
winning. We don't give up game losing goals with two seconds to go to the Colorado Mammoth. That never happens.
Right.
So usually it's Matt Vince making a sprawling save to force overtime, which we end up winning in 30 seconds anyway when we get to the next quarter. So I mean, just what are some of the other stats? Dane Smith ripping 7 assists because, of course, Josh Burns 4 goals. The leader in penalty minutes was Nick Weiss with 2 minutes, and he tied with 3 other Bandits players for 2 minutes. Didn't take any stupid penalties. Connor Fields,
Connor.
Yep. I will say this, though, about Connor Fields. 15 shots on goal is kind of amazing. It's kind of a baller move, and he was kind of trying to put the team on his back there, but I mean, Matt Vince, what's the longest river in Africa? Nile on Connor Fields for the most part. To Josh Burns, 12 shots on goal. Ian McKay, I mean, this dude, 11 loose balls. Like, when I say complete victory in secondary scoring, it's not even just secondary scoring. It's just, it's secondary fundamentals. I mean, when was the last time we had double-digit loose balls from a player not named Steve Priolo? I mean, Ian McKay is always digging those out. And Matt Vince, 44 saves, 7 goals allowed for him. Like we said, holding him under 10. He held those guys under 8. He was completely dominating.
Actually, 7. Yeah, he had 7.
Yeah, he had 7. He was holding them under 8 goals. Complete domination. And then we got to take the motivation from this game and send it to next week, because I'll tell you right now, this Friday, Ghostface will be in attendance to the Keybank Center. He's going to be sitting up in section 3. I think last time I sat up in 315. I don't know, but if you see a guy with a Stainhouse jersey or one of the black jerseys from like 2008 and a ghost face mask, that's me. So if you see him, say hey. And then if you see this guy in section 119, say hey to him if you listen to the show and you follow the show, because we'll be there. Game 1 against Toronto, we'll give you a preview later in the week for this game, but I'm so fired up. I think they have so much motivation to go from last week's win to go into this one and completely, I don't want to say stomp Toronto, but at least handle them well, go up 1-0 in the series.
Yep. I mean, like you said, one game at a time. You're going up against these guys that have been back and forth all season long, so it should be a very, very interesting series to see. I mean, last year, we're not taking anything from last year, even though we went 2-0 and just moved on against Colorado in the finals. But again, much different team, much different motivation from them, and they show that they have promise. But again, one game at a time, play smart, stay out of the box, end of story, get your offense clicking like you did against Rochester on Saturday, and you should have really no problems. But it's going to be a very good match.
Yeah, last year, those 2 games were nail-biter type of games. The way that we advanced to the finals last year was crazy. It was based off of a waived – I mean, no, the game clock expired about a tenth.
It looked like they scored by that 1/10 of a second, I believe.
1/10 of a second before the ball completely crossed the goal line. That was how we advanced to the finals, which was crazy last year. But if you look at last year's team, we faced against Albany in the first round in the quarterfinals, and we didn't blow them out the way that we blew out Rochester. I mean, this team is pissed. This team is hungry. They're still pissed about last year. You could tell that this team's on a mission. This team overcame adversity, something that last year's team really didn't do. And they were just firing off on all cylinders. This team looked completely different from the regular season team. They held the lead. And for the most part, I mean, other than the fact that Tony ripped 3 in a row to tie the game at 3, we really didn't look back at all in this game. We didn't have to do those come from behind overtime, bite your nails type of games. We took the lead and stomped them into the ground. We kicked them around like they were the big bully, and we finally stood up to them and just started kicking them around and saying, you're not gonna bully us anymore. That dynasty from the early 2010s is dead. It's gone.
It's dead. And you got to also remember, too, is that even though they had 8 goals and they were only up by 4 at the half, the second half has been a complete secondary story for the entire season throughout this year. Because what did we say before? The first half is basically figure out your opponents and what kind of game style they do. Once you exclude it, second half is your game. It's the pedal to the floor, foot down, don't let up, run them over, and that's exactly what they did against Rochester and their opponents this whole time. And this is what about conditioning is about what Johnny T has tweaked to make it better. And I think now that we can say is that this team, like you said, is very dangerous, and you better watch out because this offense is hungry, this defense is locked,
and they're motivated.
Vino is playing out of his mind right now.
Yep.
He wants that ring. He wants that title for his fifth time.
Fifth time. Fifth
he
time.
Have five championships,
I think so. And then he went to the finals in 2009 when he was playing for the New York Titans. I think they lost to Toronto. No, I don't remember who they lost to in 2009, but they went to the finals there. He's been there multiple times. He's not new to this championship thing. And I guarantee you this, if they win the championship this year, 48's getting retired in Banditland. Sorry.
Yes, he will.
I don't care what anybody else says. 48 should get retired. Obviously, after number 9, of course. We're still long overdue with that. But, I mean, it's going to be crazy. And sorry to say this for the Toronto Rock fans out there, but, I mean, I think that Colorado pissed them off to the point where they're going to take their anger out on some of these other teams. And don't even look back right now because Colorado has made the Final Four. I'm not sure how I feel about that. We got Colorado and Calgary out west. And we got Buffalo and Toronto out east. So there are 4 teams left. Just take care of business. In my honest opinion, if you want to be the best of the best, you got to take down the teams that have really just been bugging you. And look at the teams out west that are left. Calgary beat you in 04, beat you in 19. We lost to them twice in the finals. You look at Colorado. We lost to them in 06, and we lost to them in 22. We've lost to both of those teams twice in the finals, so it's not going to be an easy road no matter who we face against. But look at Toronto right now and use that series as motivation, go to the finals, and finally seal the deal, finish the job.
That's it. Guys, this is your destiny. If you guys want to have that 5th title above and you want to have the memorable season you guys have been waiting for, pedal down, don't look back. End of story.
Yep,
this is what you guys want. It's we got your backs no matter what. The fans have your backs no matter what. It's all on you guys. So basically, go out there, have fun with each other, but most importantly, kick the shit out of these guys. Would you please?
God, stick your foot so far up their ass that you make a shish kebab out of these guys. I don't want you to show any mercy towards Toronto, just like what you didn't do with Rochester. Kick them so hard where it hurts the most and don't even look back.
Nope. So, what we like to do a little segment. I want to do a segment if we could.
Sure. We got like 9 minutes before they throw us out here. So
that's fine. Who would you think would be your go-to guy of the game?
Oh my God.
I mean, I know it's hard to say because we have so many good players that have really outshined the rest, but in your personal view, who do you think?
That is so crazy, but I'm going to give it to Matt Vince. No, you know what? He's going to be my honorable mention because you can't even overlook the 20 on the scoreboard. So what am I saying right there? Even though he did play out of his mind, he's my honorable mention. I would say my player of the game 2. But my player of the game 1 was a guy who was absolutely electric offensively and defensively. I don't know if you're thinking of this guy as well, but he's our friend of the show. Yep. Dan's favorite player. He's rocking his jersey every single night. That's number 4, Ian McKay.
Yeah, that's definitely a good pick because he's been one of the absolute studs of this team, especially when injuries came about. He stepped up and played offense and he scored at will like we've never actually seen him do before. But again, he scores when we need him to score. And that's huge to have.
He's got that dog in him, man. He's got that clutch factor.
I mean, between him and Kyle Buchanan, you cannot ask for more than that.
And Bucky's awesome. Bucky's 36 years old, and he's still playing like he's 26, right?
Yeah.
Like, oh man, he's just dominating.
For me personally, now I'm not going to say anybody from the offense, and yes, they did their job. 20 goals, God bless. You know what? That's awesome. You know, a lot of football players would always say, or coaching would always say, defense does win you games. And this goes to the entire defensive core. That includes Matt Vince, especially locking down and only allowing 7 goals out of 52 shots.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Or is it 51 shots? Excuse me, because he made 44 saves. But that itself tells you that if your defense, especially with having Justin Robinson back in the lineup, and no offense to Carter McKenzie for the switch due to Johnny Tavares' decision,
but we needed J. Rob in there. J. Rob needs to play the playoff games.
Justin Robinson has really played well, and again, this defense is what helps. And I don't know how much more gas Steve Friolo has got left, but he's obviously showing he's still that young kid wanting to play from since day one, and he has the heart to do it. And obviously when he scored that breakaway goal, that was huge too. So again, kudos to the defense. Kudos to Matt Vince. You guys as a group is what I'm deciding that has won this game for the team too.
Absolute studs all the way around. How about 20 on the scoreboard, though? I still can't get over that. The way that we've been long overdue for a game like this, and we decided to do it in the quarterfinals. I mean, perfect.
Yeah, I can't disagree with you on that one, especially with how that should be the way the offense should roll, is that slaughter them. Don't give them a breath.
That was what we were waiting for.
Excuse me. See, like for me, I didn't catch my breath there for a second.
Speechless. You're speechless over there.
As we close this episode, we would like to thank you, the fans, and we'd like to thank all those who have been watching us on YouTube. If you guys would like to hit the like and subscribe button and hit that notification bell to let you guys know about myself and Trevor Hauer over there.
Yep.
Also, we'd like to thank those who listen in on any device possible on Spotify.fm and Anchor to say thank you and give us that 5-star rating. And to mention us also for our only sponsor that we had this year so far, and hopefully have more, is Mitchell's Tavern, live at 734 Sheridan Drive. We can't thank you guys enough for the all year round support, for allowing us to sponsor you guys, and for being mentioned. If you guys do happen to go there, please mention your boys of Banditland Boulevard. That is myself, Tony LaMonica, a.k.a. Boxhead 98TL, alongside with Trevor, the Power Hauer, over there alongside, and mention us so we can say, hey, they said you guys got the best food around in Tonawanda, so we want to make sure it's true. So believe me, you're going to really like their food and enjoy their amazing service that they do provide.
Love it. Love it. 20 goals to Rochester's 8 is the final score from the Keybank Center
last Saturday. I came prepared for this last segment. I'll tell you that right now.
Absolutely electric pod right now, if I got to say. I mean, dude, we're ripping Rochester. We're pumping the Bandits tires the way it always should be.
That's right.
Little brother, man. And then you got the rally towel right there that says what? The 3 words that we can close out the show with?
The 3 magic words that we close out the show. Let's do this.
Ready? Hold that thing up for the YouTube crowd here. Let's go.
Let's do this.
Ready? Let's go.
Let's go.
Bandits. Let's go.
Let's go.